Through achieving discipline, accountability, and learning to be vulnerable, you have the ability to obtain success. What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Bridge Everything podcast. My name is Stefan. In this second episode, I want to talk about investing and the importance of investing for anyone that has less than six figures in investments currently. And I want to talk about this from the perspective of not glorifying monetary success, but as a way of protecting yourself from the vulnerability that comes with the corrupt monetary system that we all adhere to. With this episode, investing, I really want to convey this message for people who have less than $100,000 in investments, because if you don't have at least six figures in investments, you are being exploited, you are being oppressed, you are having your assets, your wealth, your time, all these things stolen. So your time is being stolen because the money that you work long hours and you work hard for is being reallocated through the fiat monetary system that we are organized under. So my goal is to get anyone not investing to understand that by not investing, you are inevitably enslaving yourself to the system. And that's the system's purpose. The system's purpose is to suck the life force out of people not investing. That's the only way it can maintain its power. By reallocating people's savings. In order for the system to have winners, there needs to be losers, and the losers are the savers. Saving used to be a logical action when money was backed by gold, but with the removing of gold being backed from dollars, savers became the losers. And the new way of saving is investing, as we are in the new monetary system, the fiat monetary system. So I want to talk about it from three different angles. I want to talk about how predatory our monetary system is. I want to talk about how inflation steals your wealth and purchasing power. And I want to talk about why you should all invest, which is probably going to be the title of this, Buffett or poor, Buffett or poverty. Basically, I'm saying you either need to become a master investor or you are going to find yourself in poverty over time, especially as we approach AI being deployed in mass throughout the globe, which will drastically displace millions of workers. And through that, obviously, people will not have the stability of income that they're used to. So starting off talking about just our monetary system and how our monetary system is in my one of the things I typically say is the monetary system, or dollars, is the most deadly weapon in the world. So our monetary system, the US dollar, is the global reserve currency in the world currently. And with that, the US is able to leverage or weaponize their dollars. So what you'll see if you pay attention is we'll weaponize the monetary system, which should be a free system, a free network, but we will make it hostile for people to exist within that monetary network if they don't agree to American values. We will kick people out of the monetary system, which was done recently with Russia, believe also a country in the Middle East. This makes it hard for them to sustain themselves. It just makes it extremely hard on them. And yeah, you could have your critiques about the government of certain countries, but to weaponize it against innocent citizens to make a point, a political point, is ridiculous, but it's a regularly occurring thing. So the way our monetary system currently exists, I wanted to make sure I had some objective information before I recorded this. And one of the things, I knew it was a small amount that was in circulation, the number of actual dollars that currently exist. And it was even smaller than I thought. The current number of dollars that actually exists is estimated to be 8%, meaning 92% of the debt that actually exists in this world in US dollars is not physical. It's just created out of thin air, literally out of thin air. So our money is backed by debt. It's no longer backed by gold as it used to be up until 1971. Also, a good website that maybe you want to look at is WTF 1971. Basically, what the fuck happened in 1971. All the charts that exist there are really good for people to visually see. But yeah, so 8% of the money in circulation is physical, 92% is non existent. And so, with that, you can essentially say that everything is a bubble. And this is all possible through fractional reserve banking. So, fractional reserve banking basically means that all you have to do is keep 10% of what somebody deposits in your bank, and you could loan out that 90% to anyone who needs it. Fractional reserve banking basically means that nobody has our money. If we were all to go to our banks at the same time, all banks would default because that money doesn't exist. They just create the money. And that's the way we have been banking for close to 50 years, if not longer now. And with that, that is essentially where the decline of this country, in my opinion, really started to take place. So everything really becomes an illusion. You see, most things are in bubbles. A lot of things become unstable, but it's a very slow, a very gradual process, and it's centrally planned. So as new dollars are added into the economy, the people with little to no assets are hurt the most because their money is just being devalued. It's being watered down. Versus if you actually hold assets, you might not necessarily benefit from the dilution of dollars, but it's a hedge. It hedges your vulnerability. It minimizes how affected you are by these new dollars coming into the economy. When dollars are printed, when fiat is created and put in circulation, it makes stocks more valuable. Homes often will become more valuable. Any asset will essentially be repriced at a higher price because the money is trickling down into every industry. Poor people and people with a lack of assets or no assets are essentially just rug pulled. So their purchasing power, the dollars in their account might stay the same. It might, whatever a person has, $1,500, $100, $10, whatever, that number will still remain the same in their account. But the way business owners respond to this, when dollars are created, business owners change the price of their goods and services. So again, your dollars will stay the exact same. Your $10 still says $10, but that $10 no longer gets you what $10 would have before those new dollars come into circulation. So in the words of Fat Joe, yesterday's price is not today's price. You get this immediate response to everyone adjusting their prices, and you also have people, if people don't change their prices, what they'll often do is reduce the quality or quantity. So a bag of chips has a lot more air, or oil, if you're getting an oil change or something like that, that they can just water down or dilute the quality of that, then they'll do that if they can't get away with raising the price. So everybody responds differently, but all businesses will respond. And so with this, really what's happening is if somebody goes to work, X amount of days in a week, they work 40 hours, 60 hours, however many hours they're working, their time is, not only is their money being hijacked or stolen or exploited, pick your word, but their dollars are their time. All these things are being reallocated to the big players, the people who have money and assets. So when money goes into circulation, if I own Tesla, what you'll typically see is the price of Tesla stocks will go up. And so I benefit from that. At the very least, I can offset my vulnerability to that market change. But it's very important, I feel like, for people to understand, especially people that aren't investing, to understand that it's not just about your money. It's literally your time. Your time is being stolen from you. The more susceptible you are to having your purchasing power decrease, the longer and more you'll need to work. If you look at the US today, a lot of people are working multiple jobs. They have a main job and maybe a part-time job or something on the side, a side hustle, or they have the full-time job, the side hustle, and then another side hustle. And so, yeah, again, it's not really about money. It's about your time, your freedom. Both of these things to me are the same thing, time and freedom. Like how much time you have is how free you are as an individual in many respects. Or we could say the less time you have, the less at peace you'll be, most likely, the less healthy you're likely going to be because you're probably going to be tired, stressed, overwhelmed. All these things are important for you. And so learn the game, play the game, and figure out how to escape the game. All these things are important. But just understand that for people who maybe are anti-investing because they have this idea, as I used to, that money is the root of all evil. I used to believe that. I used to believe in communism and socialism. And really what drives us there, what isn't that we're anti-capitalism, but it's that we know that the system is exploiting or oppressing us and we can't really make sense of it. So we want something different. It's this sensation, this psychological sensation that we can't necessarily identify. So we just go to whatever is anti that, whatever is the opposite of that. And poor people were really just tricked into thinking money is the root of all evil because they lack the language to properly identify that money had become fraudulent at their expense. And so it's really just about properly identifying these things and being proactive in our approaches to learn how to make it work for us or try to imagine a better way. But centrally planning money or centrally planning an economy is not going to work. That's what we really have with central banking. We have a small group of people that nobody really knows by name. Like, sure, you could Google, I'm sure, but they're not a celebrity that's easily identifiable or even identifiable. And so we have them making decisions for all of us. And really the way to organize is to allow the market to decide what is and what isn't. The market will guide us. But I don't want to get into capitalism versus communism or socialism because that's not what this is about. But this is really just about having people understand that money is the root of all evil is a misdiagnosis. They understood that there was a problem, but they didn't know how to properly identify that the problem was the corruption that was taking place. Also, a really good documentary that I feel like anyone listening should watch is called The Money Masters. Great documentary. It also talks about the history of banking and the history of the fiat monetary system and the corruption that took place and even how presidents were assassinated over going against the bankers. Elected officials, politicians were threatened or had their political careers ruined for being against the bankers. So we're so far removed, and this is why history is important. We're so far removed from the indoctrination of central banking that many of us don't understand that the people who were present as this was forming, they were anti it, they were opposing it. And the longer something is, eventually it just becomes the network effect. We join Facebook or we join X or Instagram or all these social networks because people are on there. And the longer people are on there, the longer it is more likely to remain relevant and important. This is referred to as the Lindy effect. And so today, many people think central banking, central planning, fractional reserve banking, people think these are just normal things. And there's a big difference between something being normal versus something being normalized. Just because something is normalized does not make it normal or fair or true or just. Many of these things become normalized through propaganda, through soliciting fear and violence, through lies. And so it's important to, as we say in the Bitcoin space, don't trust, verify, and learn history. Try to be informed on as much as you can.
Next, I want to get into why invest.
It's really just to take back your time, take back your dignity, take back your sovereignty. It's important for us to not be in survival mode, but to actually live a full life. It's for us to be able to secure not only our future, but our family's futures, not be victimized or exploited. But as long as the fiat monetary system exists, which it does seem as if it's going to remain, for a little while longer, you just want to hedge your ability to be victimized or exploited by the new circulating dollars that come into existence. And so, again, you can be Buffett, or you can gradually find yourself poorer and poorer. And even if you're someone who has a house and has a car, multiple cars, even has a boat, if you don't have investments and you have those things, I'm pretty sure you're drowned in debt. And that debt is only going to accelerate over time. The US dollar's best years are behind it. You have countries de-dollarizing left and right. You have countries organizing, not even trying to, but getting US dollars off of their reserves. This is weakening the dollar. As the dollar becomes weaker, it allows us to be more bothered, more exploited, more vulnerable to the money printing. So we, as people in the U.S., have a advantage of people that are in other countries, because we are I don't want to say first recipients of the new dollars that are put in circulation, but we have less volatility than other countries who have their currencies. And so when new dollars come in circulation, it doesn't seem like, just for an example, gas doesn't go from $3 to $8 overnight, which in some countries there are situations where something similar to that does happen. That is because they are more vulnerable to what the U.S. decides. They are more vulnerable to the U.S. putting more dollars in circulation because they have a weaker currency. But as these countries try to strengthen themselves, and in order to do that, they get dollars off of their reserves, it makes us more vulnerable to deal with these situations. Now, whether that happens in a year, 5 years, 10 years, 100 years, who knows? It is inevitable. Every single currency in human history has died, and so all currencies will die. But even if countries do decide to come back to the dollar, let's just say theoretically that happens, it's still important to protect your time, to protect your purchasing power, to protect your future income as robots and AI become closer to being deployed on us, and protecting the future of your family. So I also just want to talk about the beauty of an investor and how being an investor changes you. So being an investor, even just the word investor, you're someone who's invested in society, invested in the well-being of society. I feel like today a lot of people see investors in a negative light, and that comes from the propaganda that is spewed from the powers that be to keep poor people from investing, because the more poor people not investing, the more power they can reallocate from you to themselves. So the system needs people to see investors and industries that are maybe profitable, like AI or oil, or the system needs people to stay out of things that are profitable. And so, yeah, as an investor, you're invested in yourself, you're invested in the well being of citizens, you're invested in the future, you're intellectually invested in the past because the past is how you can anticipate what the future looks like, and you can also learn from the mistakes made in the past. But obviously, you're also invested in the present. And so, yeah, just I'm trying to not be biased here, but it just creates, at least in me, I can say in my experience, I feel like turning myself into an investor, it created, if I can say this about myself, such a beautiful person. I'm a lot more rational, logical. I am very, very objective. I would say, like, even if I have my opinions and I'm subjective, like I'm in love with objectivity. Like, I pursue that. Every investor that succeeds needs a certain level of objectivity in their diet. And also, you learn from your mistakes. So even again, you fail forward. Your failures, your successes, you have to understand why. You have to engineer them, reverse engineer them, learn from them. You have to practice discipline, patience, the ability to be humble. It's just a very zen like practice. And so I think that anyone who gets in the art of investing, not day trading or the sexy side of trading, the lustful side of trading, but really the art of trading. I think the more day to day citizens are investors, the more secure, the more safe society is, because it just makes it harder to push and sell propaganda. It makes it harder to push and sell fear. It makes it harder to exploit people. And so, yeah, I can say that if anyone wants to drastically change their life, if anybody needs to hit the reset or feels like they want to develop their personality more, some better qualities or characteristics about themselves, I don't know of there being a better way than being an investor, someone who is in it for patience and the advancement of technology, and therefore the advancement of humanity. It's a sobering experience. How do you start? I guess I'll also talk about. So, how do you start? You can just read some books, listen to YouTube videos, listen to podcasts. There's a really good show that I like to listen to on YouTube called Invest Answers. Be careful of what you listen to. Cross reference. Don't just listen to one opinion. The best thing to do is formulate your own opinion, but once you formulate your own opinion, try to find people who have unbiased analysis. Try to find people who disagree with you. We should always be trying to prove ourselves wrong. And so, YouTube, read some articles, and I think I would also say the best way is just failing. Failure. That will be your best teacher. Start small, and it's really not that hard. The hardest part is just being consistent, being disciplined, and not being emotional, seeing the downward cycles as opportunities to buy, and the upwards or maybe your opportunities to sell. This is definitely not financial advice. This is freedom advice. This is family advice. And if anyone does have any questions, again, you can always reach out to me. Thank you so much for anyone who has listened up to this point. I hope you're well. I hope you're healthy. And until next episode, remain present, remain grateful, and remain filled with love and kindness.